In March 1907, an article appeared in the Leinster Leader newspaper by local historian John Ennis. In it, he talks about a style of wrestling called collarandelbow, literally collar and elbow, that was the single most popular sport in Ireland in the 18th and 19th centuries. According to Ennis, it was the chief physical sport of the male population from childhood to mature manhood, and every parish had its champion who was kept busy defending his title against would-be usurpers. Now, wrestling in a general sense has been recorded in Ireland for well over 2,000 years. There are records of wrestling taking place at the annual Tailteann Games deep in Ireland's pre-Christian past, depictions of wrestling matches, both sporting and deadly, in the stories of legendary heroes like Cuchulainn, and carvings of recognisable wrestling holes on things like the 9th century Market High Cross of Kells. But collar and elbow was something different, with a very distinctive rule set and set of techniques. As the name suggests, you took a fixed hold on the collar and sleeve of your opponent's jacket at the elbow, and he did the same to you. Since your grips were locked in place, you couldn't rely on many of the typical holds and throws common in many other folk styles. You had to make use of other options. You had to engage your legs. So collar and elbow's distinctive look and feel began to emerge, characterized by what Ennis calls foot sparring, lightning fast and intricate battles of trips, sweeps, hooks and blocks that off-balanced your opponent and created openings for a throw. One particularly explosive way of bringing someone down was the flying mare. Any throw that sent your opponent tumbling head over heels with his feet flying up into the air. But there were many other techniques that the average wrestler could use to make his opponent hit the ground. In order to win, you needed to hit what was called a flat back fall, with at least 3 points hitting the ground simultaneously. 2 shoulders and 1 hip, or 2 hips and 1 shoulder. That was a collar and elbow match. And it was not only the most popular sport in Ireland for over 100 years. It spread abroad with successive waves of Irish emigration, to the likes of Australia and New Zealand, to Canada and Argentina, and found particularly widespread popularity in the United States. From Vermont to Montana, collar and elbow bouts were fought between miners and farmers, between soldiers and woodsmen, with national collar and elbow championships being contested for prizes of hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. Proponents of the style praised its technical, scientific nature, and marvelled at how smaller men could use perfectly timed foot sweeps and throws to bring much larger opponents crashing to the ground. By the late 19th century, though, collar and elbow had all but disappeared, both in the US and back home in Ireland. In Ireland, the high levels of mortality and emigration due to the Great Famine led to the decline or outright loss of many aspects of native culture. And globally, the emergence of new and more appealing grappling styles like catch wrestling, with its grittier, more no-holds-barred bouts, and pro wrestling with its more crowd-friendly theatricality, led to collar and elbow being practiced less and less, until it gradually faded into memory entirely. John Ennis, writing in 1907, looked back with longing at the lost heydays of the then forgotten grappling art, ending his article with a wistful, "It is hoped that this eminently scientific and picturesque style of wrestling will be again revived and popularized." In August 2019, a series of collar and elbow bouts were held in Heidelberg, Germany. Competitors came from half a dozen countries and from a handful of modern grappling styles like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, freestyle wrestling and MMA. There were a few small modifications to the rules in order to make it more compatible with a modern tournament setting, such as a 5-minute time limit in order to prevent the kind of open-ended matches that could sometimes go on for hours back in the day. But apart from that, it was the same collar and elbow that was once practiced in every parish in Ireland, and on the biggest stages on the other side of the Atlantic. The first time that people had locked up and scuffled in that old Irish wrestling style in over 100 years. As a result of the observations made during those bouts, there's now a modern competition rule set available that anyone can use if they want to hold any collar and elbow bouts of their own. It is a living document and will surely change as new matches are held and further observations are made. But whether you're a competitor, a referee, or someone interested in holding a tournament of your own, you'll find something you can use there. Something that, after over 100 years in exile, could eventually help bring this forgotten piece of Irish culture back home again.